This is Chicago's very own Midday News.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Sanders, and this is our Midday News for Wednesday, February the 24th. After last night's major political setback, the Paul Simon presidential campaign is pulling in its horns. There's a Capitol Hill debate underway this afternoon, a debate so controversial that one U.S. senator was forcibly carried into the Senate chamber in an effort to make him cast a vote. And closer to home, toxic fumes forced the evacuation of a suburban junior high school. All those stories coming up this hour, but first, Tom Skilling on a nice sunny day in Chicago.
Yeah, it's sunny right now, Steve. We've had some reports of snow flurries around the area. The air aloft is very cool, and may, as it did yesterday, produce some snow showers. Cold air for the next couple of days, but I guess the big news and the big story today is that much warmer air is in sight later in the week and this weekend. We'll have details on how warm we're expecting it to get, plus our 5-day forecast. But back to Steve now for the news.
Thank you, Tom. Democratic presidential candidate Paul Simon is topping our news at this hour. In a dramatic turn of events, the Illinois senator told reporters in Washington today that he will bypass the Southern primary contest coming up on Super Tuesday. Paul Simon says he simply does not have the resources to compete in the 21 elections and caucuses. Instead, he says he will turn his focus to the Illinois primary and future contests. While many political insiders see Super Tuesday as pivotal in this White House campaign, Simon says the mostly Southern contest will likely result in a mixed picture. The Democrats' campaign has been plagued with money problems in recent months, and many have speculated that he will be forced out of the presidential race because of a lack of funds. Last week, Simon himself said he needed to win either South Dakota or Minnesota to remain in the race, but he came in fourth in the South Dakota contest yesterday and third in the Minnesota caucuses. Richard Gephardt and Michael Dukakis split the Democratic winnings in those contests. And Robert Dole won both on the Republican side. Mark Leff looks back on how the voting went.
Thank you.
Primary voters in South Dakota took their cue from caucus goers in Iowa 2 weeks ago. Republicans going for Bob Dole in a big way and putting Pat Robertson second in a squeaker over George Bush. Democrats gave a substantial edge to Dick Gephardt, who called the South Dakota numbers a great victory. He'd worked hard in recent days to counter a campaign blitz by Massachusetts Governor Mike Dukakis, who'd been spending heavily in the upper Midwest. Dukakis came in second to Gephardt in South Dakota, but may have taken a richer prize with a win in the Minnesota caucuses, where more than 4 times as many delegates are at stake.
So for me, a guy from Massachusetts who comes from a long way away to be able to win, if I do, in the backyard of people like Dick Gephardt and Paul Simon is, I think, a major step forward in our campaign.
For Paul Simon, the numbers in South Dakota were especially dismal, though he was running about even with Jesse Jackson and with uncommitted in Minnesota. Minnesotans caucus pretty much the way Iowans did 2 weeks ago, and it appears new Republican caucus goers again gave Pat Robertson's candidacy a boost. Not big enough to give him a win, but enough to put him well ahead of fellow conservative Jack Kemp, who tried very hard in Minnesota, and George Bush, who hadn't tried at all. A spokesman for the vice president said the results were about as expected.
I've just left Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where we think we got every delegate in that state.
But Bob Dole was the big Republican winner in Minnesota and South Dakota. Not a surprise, given the extent of his campaigning, but a better showing than he made last week in New Hampshire. Mark Leff, CNN, reporting.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, senators are locked in a fierce debate over a campaign finance bill. The debate started late yesterday and turned into an all-night filibuster. Senate Democratic leader Robert Byrd ordered the sergeant-at-arms to locate absent senators, and he did just that. At one point early this morning, Capitol employees carried Oregon Senator Bob Packwood bodily back into the Senate chamber after serving him with arrest papers. There was supposed to be a showdown this afternoon over a city council ordinance here in Chicago that would allow night games at Wrigley Field, but as Larry Roderick tells us, the showdown was postponed.
All the sound and the fury that was to be here in City Council today was simply not to be for that controversial ordinance calling for 8 night games at Wrigley Field this year and starting next year 18 night games. Well, it was approved by a council committee and then simply set aside, published and deferred, they call it. It'll all come up at a Thursday afternoon emergency council meeting. Alderman Bernie Hansen, in whose ward Wrigley Field sits, had some comments on that earlier today.
There's a number of people that are talking about taking some court action. At this time, I don't want to reveal what it is, but there are some questions that are answered in regards to what they call the zoning variance in regards to putting up lights. Does that or does that not violate what they call special use, which was implemented in 1957.
Meanwhile, the pros and the cons and the fun and games are still set for center stage here in the council chambers Thursday afternoon. This is Larry Roderick, WGN News.
There were harsh words last night as the Democratic candidates for Cook County Circuit Court clerk appeared together for the first time. They appeared at a forum sponsored by the Chicago Urban League. Former Mayor Jane Byrne, Metropolitan Sanitary District Board members Aurelia Pochinski and Thomas Fuller, along with LaRouche follower Janice Hart, took questions from reporters and from some 300 guests. All talked about how they would improve the office and specifically how they would award contracts.
I'd like to refer you to my record as a commissioner at the Metropolitan Sanitary District, where I have consistently urged that all of our contracting be by bid, including professional service contracts and those contracts which are typically sole source and sometimes classified emergencies. In addition, as a Metropolitan Sanitary District Commissioner, I was responsible for initiating an action which included affirmative action guidelines on $180 million worth of contracts for goods and services that had previously not been covered by affirmative action. I believe that my record speaks for itself. I would plan to continue that same kind of far-sighted affirmative action goals for the clerk's office.
I would like to know what bidding procedures the clerk of the circuit court handles. According to my knowledge, he doesn't handle any, because all that is handled by the purchasing agent of Cook County. If you want to purchase one sheet of paper, you submit a request, a requisition to the purchasing agent, and the purchasing agent of Cook County in turn purchases that piece of paper.
There aren't a lot of contracts that the clerk is in a position to, I think the media word is dole out or give out or pay back for fundraising capabilities and all the rest of it. But on emergency services there are, and I think on professional services, the clerk does have some input and some say. I would award those as fairly and as uniformly in keeping with the affirmative action principles as could be done.
I think that we have to get back to a representative form of government. I think the population has to respond now as they did 130 years ago under the Lincoln administration, because we are faced with the worst strategic crisis in our history, and it is up to you, the citizen, to rise to the occasion to do something about it.
Though this was not billed as a debate, sharp words were exchanged between Byrne and Pochinski primarily over who endorsed whom in the mayoral campaign last year.
I'm very proud to say that after a primary last year, where the city was totally divided, I, and not one of my major opponents, who is now the slated machine candidate, chose not to remain a Democrat last year, but to instead first endorse Chicago First ticket, and when that candidate dropped out, chose to endorse Vedroliak, whom she now wishes to run against.
Thank you,
and that was after she endorsed me.
Mrs. Byrne has consistently been wrong about whether or not I endorsed Ed Vedroliak. I did not endorse Ed Vedroliak, although some members of our ward organization did choose to work for him. In answer to your specific question, I think that was the biggest mistake I ever made in my entire life, and I'm really sorry about it.
Byrne later asked whether Pochinski realized she had made such a mistake twice, noting Pochinski also endorsed Byrne in 1983. Republican clerk candidate Edward Vedroliak chose not to attend the forum. Frantic parents are streaming in and out of the school in Arlington Heights at this hour. That's because dozens of students have been overcome by fumes. At Thomas Junior High School in that northwest suburb, the children were having difficulty breathing. As of now, their injuries do not appear to be serious. The remaining students and faculty have all been evacuated to a nearby church. Authorities believe a maintenance worker caused the problem by accidentally dumping a large quantity of cleansing chemical into a toilet. Police in northern Indiana are looking for 3 black men suspected in the stabbing death of a Hammond attorney and an attack on his secretary. 43-year-old C. Michael Banning was pronounced dead at his office late yesterday morning from multiple stab wounds. His secretary, 23-year-old Debbie Cole, was pistol whipped and admitted to St. Margaret's Hospital with head injuries. Hammond Police Captain Mike McPhillips said the 3 unidentified men were seen leaving the office shortly before the victims were discovered. Unhappiness with legal representation or robbery, according to police, may have motivated the slaying. Well, you can expect hospital and healthcare costs to increase at a double-digit pace this year. That's from a report by the Illinois Healthcare Cost Containment Council. The study showed a nearly $500 increase in the average cost of a hospital stay from 1985 to 86. For an average 6.5-day stay, hospitals billed patients nearly $4,800 in 1986. The Illinois Hospital Association says costs have increased because government cuts in health care support have caused severe financial pressures. President Reagan gears up for his first news conference since October. That story and a whole lot more coming up on our Midday News.
Steele Loeber uses the finest materials from our own lumber yard, and we'll give you $600 to $800 more value in a comparably priced garage. For example, Steele Loeber uses pre-finished boxed eaves on all of our garages, and that means no maintenance and a quality finished look. Call now and find out about the many other Steele Loeber value advantages. Dial 636-5660 and set up a no-obligation appointment. Steele Loeber.
Attention Illinois homeowners in need of cash for home improvements, bill consolidation, investment opportunities, or any other personal need. Your home can work for you with a home equity loan from Centennial Mortgage Company. Cash from your home is available with no application fees, no income verification, payments to fit your budget. Credit problems are no problem at Centennial, and most approvals take only 48 hours. For the cash you need, apply now by phone. For a free evaluation, call Centennial at 823-2500. That's 823-2500.
Donald O'Connor and Debbie Reynolds perform on stage at the Holiday Star Theater in Maryville for 3 wonderfully entertaining shows March 12th and 13th. Tickets are still available. And Engelbert Humperdinck performs at the Holiday Star Theater March 25th through the 27th. Tickets at Ticketmaster or charge by phone by calling 734-7266. That's 734-7266. Special overnight and dinner packages also available.
You've noticed it before. Something missing in your margarine. Taste, flavor, richness. Now Land O'Lakes has found what you've been missing. The taste of sweet cream. In Land O'Lakes bread with sweet cream. Just enough sweet cream to make it sweet, creamy, buttery, yet it has almost no cholesterol. Land O'Lakes bread with sweet cream. The taste you've been missing.
You know, at the Desnick Eye Centers, we feel that even one senior with a cataract problem is one too many. That's why we've opened locations throughout Chicagoland to serve our senior community better than ever before. Each Desnick Eye Center offers no-cost cataract removal and no hospital stay, and will provide free transportation for each of your scheduled office visits. Leading the way in quality eye care for Chicago's senior community, call the Desnick Eye Centers at 282-9700.
As President Reagan prepares for his first news conference of the year tonight, he is getting pressure to take some action against Panama. The State Department is recommending the president slap major penalties on Panama for failing to take enough steps to control drug trafficking in that country. Meanwhile, White House reporters are gearing up for their first opportunity in several months to grill the president on a wide range of pressing questions. Mary Tillotson reports.
Mr. Reagan's staff will tell you reporters have had access to the president over the past 4 months. And depending on how broadly you define access, that's true. Reporters are generally allowed to watch the president's comings and goings, and they're often allowed into the 2-minute picture-taking sessions with the president, known as photo ops. Sometimes that equals access.
On this particular subject, I feel that I must straighten it out.
And sometimes it does not.
No, I'm not going to take any questions here in this photo opportunity.
Since last fall, the president has also granted audiences to selected groups of reporters, like this one on the eve of his December summit with Mikhail Gorbachev.
I have to believe that he believes their own propaganda. He grew up with this and hearing this.
You believe that he believes that he has 115,000 troops in Afghanistan committing genocide almost daily simply because they were invited in there?
Well, you must remember that there were other leaders under which this happened.
That apologia for Gorbachev struck the wrong note with some Americans, and it is precisely that sort of presidential ad-lib which could explain why Mr. Reagan's staff arranged no news conference for him after the summit. Nor have reporters had a chance to question Mr. Reagan in a news conference setting about Israel shooting, beating, and deporting Palestinians, nor about Congress turning down his latest aid request for the Contras and receiving his latest $1 trillion-plus budget, nor about Attorney General Edwin Meese being the target of a special prosecutor's investigation. These are all issues about which the president is apt to be questioned tonight as he faces the entire White House press corps for the first time since October 22nd.
Just seems like yesterday.
Mary Tillotson, CNN, the White House.
Well, a general strike is underway in Israel's occupied territories today in anticipation of a visit by U.S. Secretary of State George Schultz. Schultz will arrive tomorrow to promote a new Middle East peace plan. And as Doug James reports, the secretary may be facing some tough obstacles in this journey.
Peace in the Holy Land. It may take a miracle. At least that's what many believe George Schultz will need for his mission to succeed. Here, the Palestinian flag is more than a symbol. It is everything. A fact the American Peace Initiative has so far failed to recognize, according to one prominent Palestinian.
The statements talk about interim arrangements, they talk about autonomy, they talk about things which don't quite catch the spirit of the uprising.
Only one thing can capture the spirit of this uprising, says newspaper editor Hannah Senora, recognition of an independent Palestinian state.
If this is not announced, if this is not met, then it's going to be another unfruitful round.
But this Middle East expert says if the Palestinians refuse to compromise, the Schultz mission will end in failure.
No progress will be achieved, and I think that the situation is going even to deteriorate.
But the Israelis aren't making George Schultz's job any easier either. The coalition government is split on how to resolve the crisis. Foreign Minister Shimon Peres is willing to compromise, to trade territory for peace, but Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir is not.
Mr. Shamir's stand is not the stand that would lead to peace.
But there are hopeful signs. Among them, the personal involvement of the Secretary of State. The debate among Palestinian leaders over whether or not to get involved in the process, despite firm orders from the PLO to stay out. Participation by Syria and other Arab nations. The apparent willingness by the Soviet Union to play an active role in the U.S. peace initiative. And pressure on the Israeli government from both inside and outside the country to resolve the crisis. But will it be enough?
I don't see any possibility at the present time to reach a final solution, a final settlement for the conflict. But I can see small steps, little progress toward final resolution.
Perhaps in the Middle East, that's all one can hope for. After all, the search for peace has been going on for decades. 5 days of shuttle diplomacy might help, but nobody, not even George Schultz, is expecting a miracle. Doug James, CNN, Jerusalem.
The South African government today banned all political activities of the country's largest anti-apartheid organization. 16 other groups were also targets of the crackdown. Mike Hanna has more on the story.
Proclamation, 18 anti-apartheid organizations have been effectively banned, able to operate only with government sanction. Among them, the United Democratic Front, which since its launch in 1983 has grown into the country's major extra-parliamentary opposition movement. And in Soweto today, UDF President Albertina Sisulu was defiant.
The spirit of our organizations will live on with the people. And in fact, we just want to warn the government that this is the beginning, not the end.
Affected too, South Africa's biggest trade union grouping, COSATU, which has been instructed to stop what the state describes as its political activities and concern itself only with shop floor matters.
For us, it's just a further indication that this government has no commitment whatsoever to address the fundamental crisis in our country, which is the lack of democracy. That the only way forward they see is to increase repression and act against the last forms of democratic organization that exist in the country.
But among the right-wing groups that have been disrupting government meetings like this, the measures are not seen as being strong enough. A spokesman for the official opposition Conservative Party says the action comes too late and should be more severe. The measures could stem the flow of government supporters to the right wing. But observers believe a more pressing reason for the state crackdown are the nationwide municipal elections that take place later this year. Elections the opposition groups have described as a sham and have threatened to disrupt. Mike Hanna, ITN, Johannesburg.
Evangelist Jerry Falwell has lost his legal battle against Hustler magazine. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the $200,000 award Falwell won against Hustler publisher Larry Flint. The High Court ruling unanimously that even pornographic parodies without a public figure or about a public figure enjoy the protections of the Constitution's First Amendment. Falwell's lawsuit for emotional distress stemmed from a full-page parody about the minister and his mother. The Supreme Court discounted Falwell's contention that the Hustler parody was so outrageous it should be distinguished from more traditional political cartoons. Illinois will have to wait until November to see if it will be chosen as the site of the superconducting Supercollider. 6 other states are vying for the $4.4 billion government project that would produce approximately 2,500 jobs. Originally, the decision was scheduled for July, but Department of Energy officials say that the postponement will allow time for a more detailed analysis of the proposals it has received. Illinois' plan outlines the benefits of linking the Supercollider with existing facilities at Fermi Lab. Illinois transportation officials are involved in another series of meetings today aimed at ironing out the flap over contractors on the Dan Ryan reconstruction project. Illinois Department of Transportation Secretary Gregory Bays met this morning with members of the Chicago Urban League. Several black groups have complained about the lack of minority contractors on the upcoming Ryan project. One of the 2 primary contractors is now promising to hire more minority companies. The Ryan reconstruction is scheduled to begin on March the 1st. Tom Skilling joining us now. Nice sunny day in Chicago, although it is deceptively cold.
It really is. It's very cold, and if we were a mile above the ground, Steve, it'd be even colder, which is why those clouds are forming, because as the sun heats us up down here, snow flurry-bearing clouds forming, and that'll be the process during the afternoon. There's a little wave coming at us late tonight, too, and the question is, may that be a snowmaker? We'll have details on that and look at a warm-up for the weekend when we come back.
The pie plan is now becoming available, and we'll tell you what it is later on.
Faster than a speeding missile, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. It's the original Man of Steel. It's Superman.
Any more at home like you?
Superman, the original movie, starring Clark Kent, Jimmy Olsen, Barry White, and Lois Lane.
The problem with Men of Steel, there's never one around when you want one.
Superman, tonight at 7 in Men of Steel Week on Channel 9.
Here are some of the ways people are using Bay's English muffins.
You know, make a little pizza out of it.
But I'd love them with jelly.
I always put peanut butter on mine.
Put a little crab salad toast it.
A soft cream cheese with strawberries.
Like grilled cheese and ham sandwich, and put them in the toaster oven, or even put them in the microwave.
In your grocer's dairy case. Bay's.
Make about 30 of them, and they're all gone in 5 minutes.
Do you want to make more money? Of course, everybody does. So find out how easy it is to train at home for a better career by calling International Correspondence Schools. At ICS, more than 9 million men and women have trained for job promotions and new careers without setting foot inside a classroom. Well, now you can train at home to get your diploma or even a degree. Choose any of the many courses available. High school, TV VCR repair, computer programming, child daycare, auto mechanics, hotel restaurant management, electrician, legal assistant, veterinary assistant, interior decorating, medical dental office, travel, or get a degree, major in business management or in accounting. You'll get the most out of life by making the most of your abilities. That's training, and that is ICS. Call for free information on any one of these courses. Then decide if you want to train at home for a better career, to make more money or advance in your present job. Call 1-800-247-7900. Operators are on duty to send you free information by return mail. Call now, 1-800-247-7900.
Browse and shop a showcase of beautiful handicrafts by talented artisans from across the country. This Friday through Sunday on the Mall at Orland Square in Orland Park.
Pretty cool out there at 12 noon, but you know there's starting to be some light at the end of this cold air winter tunnel that we've been in. Spinning up here is the core of the cold air that we've color enhanced for you, and you notice how it's kind of taking off to the east as we time-lapse it. It is, however, spinning cool air down into Chicago that will reach all the way down to Florida as well. In fact, freezing temperatures forecast down to northern and even parts of central Florida for tonight. But what's of more interest to us is this little weather system that's color enhanced and starts dropping in from Canada toward the end of our time lapse. This is a little upper air wave that possesses very little moisture on its own, but as this sweeps southeastward and lines up with Lake Michigan, even though winds are not blowing in directly from the lake late tonight and tomorrow morning, these things tend to pull some of the moisture back on occasion, and it's possible we could have some lake effect snow in here late tonight and tomorrow morning, which would end then during the afternoon and clear out. It wouldn't be a big thing, I don't think, but it's a pretty strong little upper air wave, and amazing that the computers associate no moisture with it right now. We have lake effect moisture falling and through the eastern Great Lakes region, but that's about the extent of the moisture at 12 noon, except for some showers down here in far south Florida. This is a very quiet winter day across many sections of the United States. Here in Chicago, the sun down here at the lower elevations is starting to warm the air, and with very, very cold air aloft, a sign that we're getting into spring when this starts happening, or at least heading in that direction, as this warmth causes the air to become buoyant and rise into the cool air. We will, as we did yesterday, get some little puffy clouds to develop and little what are called instability snow showers. So from time to time this afternoon and early tonight, these snows may come through the area, but again, should not be particularly heavy. We've cooled off quite a bit from the early week 48 that we started with on Monday. Dropped down 21 degrees to 27 yesterday, and there we will be again today and tomorrow too, for that matter. So we have a couple of cool days on the way. Winter, which possessed a December, which was 145 total degrees above normal, has led to some cold months around here. January and February, especially this month, well below the normal. But when you add all these up, you find that winter cancels out the above and below normal temperatures, meaning statistically at least, this will go down in the books as a near normal winter. The reason it seems so cold is because in recent years, we've had such warm winters that this one, being a normal winter, seems cold by comparison. Well, it's 26 now at the lakefront and also up here at Waukegan, 24 at O'Hare and at Midway Airport, 26 at DuPage. Aurora has 23, 20 up in Milwaukee at this hour. Winds from the west at a pretty good clip, so the wind chill is 7 below zero, so it is chilly out there, and our barometer falling as the overnight low temperature dropped to 18 degrees, and we reported an official trace of snow. The cold air covers the Great Lakes area, and along its south edge is this little Yukon wave that's to drop southeast pretty quickly. It's a very weak little weather system, but could bring just enough moisture off the lake to bring us some snow again late tonight, early tomorrow. Milder and moister air out to the west, though, will be in and bring us a far different weekend, and our 5-day forecast reflects that with a 39 forecast by Saturday and a 44 on Sunday. So some much warmer air after a series of 20-degree days. Here's our afternoon forecast now, and it's not bad. There'll be some cloudiness, a few passing snow flurries or light snow showers. Windy and cold today. These flakes tend to be big in this kind of situation, making the snows when they occur look worse than they really are. But we're not expecting any major accumulations today, a high of 29. West winds at 12 to 24. Flurries early, then clouding up late tonight across the area, and there could be some snow along Lake Michigan toward morning. Lows 7 inland, 14 at the lakeshore. Southwest winds at 6 to 16. And tomorrow, snow possible in the morning, then clearing in the afternoon and cold, 18 to 27 the range. And Friday, increasing clouds as Pacific air starts to overrun the retreating cold air mass, and we'll get all the way up to 31. That is just the beginning of what could be a nice weekend. Look like the youngsters in the background are having a good time. Yeah,
tomorrow,
it doesn't look too bad, Steve.
I'll ask you how nice, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Tom. Concern over funding for children suffering from AIDS. That story and much more still ahead on our Midday News.
I couldn't tell anybody my problem. I couldn't tell my boss I don't feel like coming to work because I'm constipated. Some excuse. What's he going to say? Hey, take a laxative. Sure. Then get on the bus and hope that it doesn't kick in? Then one simple idea changed my life. Daily fiber therapy. Metamucil fiber therapy. See, fiber helps keep you regular, but I wasn't getting enough. Now I get plenty. And Metamucil fiber won't irritate your system like a harsh chemical laxative. Works with your body, safely, naturally. So, with Metamucil every day, I got regular and stayed regular. Now when I talk to my boss, I say, hey, how about a raise?
Metamucil, and you could stay regular for the rest of your life.
Okay, last time. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Holiday travel is your pathway to the last frontier. See Mount McKinley, Denali National Park, unforgettable wildlife and scenery. Holiday Travel's Alaska and Inside Passage cruises depart 14 convenient Chicagoland points from only $17.99 per person double. Make this your summer to experience the beauty of Alaska. For your free brochure, call Holiday Travel in Des Plaines toll-free, 1-800-826-2266.
Your Osco pharmacist knows you need more information than what's on the label.
Now, tilt your child's head back, put the drops in the corner of her eye, let her blink.
That's why they'll take the time to explain your prescription to you.
Even though you notice the redness disappear, continue to use it every
Your Osco pharmacist thinks the more you know,
here's our phone number,
the better you feel.
If you have any further questions, please call. Be happy to help you. Bye-bye now. Osco Drug, can I help you?
Osco Drug. We want you to feel good.
A federal judge has signed a consent decree that allows an unidentified Cook County Hospital doctor with AIDS to continue performing most of his duties, including the daily treatment of patients. American Civil Liberties Union attorney Ben Wolf says the decree signed by U.S. District Judge John Nordberg carves in stone an agreement negotiated between the ACLU, which represented the doctor, the hospital, and the Cook County Board. The guidelines for the doctor, agreed upon by all three sides and stated in the federal order, follow those established by the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. A new AIDS coalition is calling for more money for the smallest victims of the deadly disease. Carol Cook with more on that story from Washington.
839 children under the age of 13 have developed AIDS in this country since June 1981. At that rate, health experts predict at least 3,500 cases of pediatric AIDS by 1991.
AIDS may not be the most frequently encountered health problem that children face in this country today, but it is the newest, and it has the potential for exploding into the largest problem that we've ever faced.
The states with the most cases of pediatric AIDS are New York, New Jersey, Florida, California, and Texas. The same states with the most adult AIDS. Babies with the disease live an average of 2 years after being diagnosed. But unlike adults with AIDS, who frequently have periods of remission, AIDS babies are sick much of the time.
These children have a variety of problems, including intestinal problems, abdominal distension, diarrhea, the inability to eat, and tremendous discomfort. They often have repeated infections, delayed development, and chronic lung disease.
80% of babies born with AIDS have mothers who are intravenous drug users. Many are abandoned or left in hospitals because no other care can be found. In Washington, a project called Grandma's House tries to give these children a home.
Whenever you think of the name Grandma or Grandma's House, it usually brings about a certain warmth and a feeling of security, a place where you won't be rejected.
The coalition strongly backs a variety of bills on Capitol Hill that advocate research, treatment, and home care for children infected with the AIDS virus. The group also stresses education about AIDS and drugs to prevent the disease.
The kind of effort that we're talking about is one that right now is sitting up on the Hill with a $2 billion price tag. And the question is one of whether we as a nation are willing to take on the scale of effort required to truly block the coming part of the AIDS epidemic.
Pediatric AIDS represents just 1.5% of all AIDS cases, but members of the Pediatric AIDS Coalition say they'll keep the pressure on to make sure the special needs of children don't get lost in the AIDS debate. Carol Cook, CNN, Washington.
In Japan, engineers are making some improvements on a high-speed train that just may replace some jet travel. Here's John Lewis.
It hovers above the track. It burns no fuel, and it's fast. In fact, the fastest train in the world. Japan's Supertrain has been clocked at over 312 miles per hour. Okay, that was an unmanned experimental run, but it has hit the 400-kilometer or 250-mile-per-hour mark with passengers aboard. And that's what it's all about, moving people quickly, very quickly. The secret lies in a likely place, the motor. The magnetically powered linear propulsion system has been on the drawing boards and in the laboratories for some time, 26 years. The first linear motor car hit the rails here in 1972. Within the next 2 years, Japan should boast the world's first commercial supertrain service. And that, according to the experts, will be only the beginning. Looking at the rapid developments in the field of superconductivity, scientists here are floating ideas of even faster means of moving people from one point to another. Washington to New York in 40 minutes, Los Angeles to San Francisco in an hour. But speed isn't the only attraction. The train is almost silent. Good news for those living near conventional train tracks, and airports for that matter. That is, the Supertrain could well replace many domestic air routes. The tracks themselves will be less costly to construct and maintain. The strong magnetic attraction also adds a big element of safety. The modern-day Casey Joneses here believe they're on the right track to a new revolution in transportation. John Lewis, CNN, Tokyo.
Well, the Russians take home the gold and silver in the Olympic dance skating competition. Our Midday News Sports Report is up next.
The symbol of excellence, the legendary Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost, now recreated by Franklin Mint Precision Models in the official die-cast model authorized by Rolls-Royce Motor Cars Limited. The 1907 Silver Ghost, only one was ever built, and now it's recreated in an incredible model, hand-assembled from more than 127 pieces. Each feature is authentic. The removable spare tire, protectively coated sterling silver-plated trim, pedals, instruments, and engine details precise to the very last spark plug. A stunning collector's piece for home or office. To order, call 1-800-453-1400. Use your credit card or mail $30 and be billed the balance in 3 payments. The imported Silver Ghost with certificate of authenticity. Call 1-800-453-1400. Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost.
There's nothing quite like owning a Rolls-Royce.
This is how your dog sees its food. Most experts say dogs are colorblind. Why then do so many companies add artificial coloring to their dog food? Bench & Field is a nutritional dog food. No artificial colors or flavors are added to improve what is naturally good for a dog's growth and good health. Naturally.
Oh no, snow. I got that 9 o'clock meeting with Brewster. I wonder if he'll make it on time.
Phone.
Man, I gotta pick up those stats on my way to work. Wonder if they'll be open.
Phone.
Wonder if somebody will be there early to open up the office. Why didn't you say it?
I think you got the idea.
Salt Sense tastes great because it's real salt.
Introducing new Salt Sense. Great tasting salt with 33% less sodium per teaspoon.
Salt Sense makes sense.
At the Winter Olympic Games in Calgary, women figure skaters kick off their compulsories today. American Debbie Thomas and East German Katharina Witt are favored. And in medal competitions, a gold medal is awaiting to be claimed in the women's giant slalom. 2 hockey games open the medal round in that sport this afternoon, and the Soviets meet the Canadians on the ice tonight. Terry Chick brings us up to date on the activities at the Olympics Park for the last 24 hours.
He is called the Flying Finn, and rightly so, because nobody ski jumps like Matti Nuukkonen. As the old saying goes, just look it up. Nuukkonen flew to the gold medal in the 90 meters on Tuesday, this to go along with the gold last week in the 70 meters and the gold at 90 meters 4 years ago. The Flying Finn has now become the most decorated ski jumper in Olympic history. And he's also serving up notice he's not hanging up the skis until after the Winter Games in 1992. And maybe by then, Eddie Edwards will be competitive, although by being so non-competitive, the only member of Great Britain's ski jump team has become a cult figure of these 15th Winter Games. He came in dead last in the 70 meters and now the same in the 90 meters. And the crowd was loving it. The world just seems to love the underdog. The Olympic oval that produced a world's record and a gold medal for Bonnie Blair on Monday night proved golden for Holland's Yvonne van Hennep as well. 2 months after undergoing foot surgery, Van Hennep upset the East Germans by not only winning the 3,000 meters, but by smashing the old world's record by some 4 seconds. The U.S. contingent was led by Janet Goldman of Glenview, Illinois, but she was some 13 seconds off Van Hennep's times and couldn't crack the top 10. In the 10-kilometer cross-country, East Germany's Frank-Peter Reusch came up with his second gold medal of these games. He held off a pair of Russians for the victory. And a very disappointing finish for Josh Thompson of the U.S. He had been a silver medalist at the recent World Championships. The Soviets, meanwhile, picked up their 8th gold medal of these games when Natalia Bestemianova and Andrei Buchan outclassed the field in ice dancing. Their routine earned them 3 scores of perfect 6s, and this pair just keeps rolling along. They have not lost in competition since the games of '84. The best the U.S. could do was a 6th-place finish for Scott Gregory and Suzanne Semenuk. I'm Terry Chick, CNN Sports.
A real thriller at Chicago Stadium last night. Michael Jordan scored 39 points, including 6 in overtime, as the Bulls beat the Seattle Supersonics 104-97. This game went down to the wire. It was 91-all with less than a minute to go in regulation when Michael hits a pull-up jumper to put the Bulls up by 2. It was 95-92 Chicago when the Bulls defense gets careless and leaves Xavier McDaniel wide open. McDaniel sends the game into overtime with a 3-pointer with 1 second left, 95-all. Let's look at Doug Collins' reaction as he watches McDaniel's shot go into the net. Total disbelief. Now, Jordan puts the Bulls ahead to stay in overtime when he takes the inbounds pass and scores underneath. 99-97 Bulls in pandemonium at the stadium. Jordan then sealed the victory when he steals the ball from McDaniel and goes in uncontested for the Tomahawk Jam. Bulls won it 104-97. Portland will be at the stadium on Friday night. Baseball. The experts say pitching is the name of the game in baseball. Pitching is a big question mark in both the White Sox and Cubs camps this spring. The Cubs brought in a top reliever and a couple of starters, though, through trades, and Dan Roan has more from Arizona.
Position players aren't due in here until Friday, and with the exception of Ryan Sandberg, who lives in Tempe, we haven't seen many early birds in camp. And that's the way Don Zimmer wants it. This way he can concentrate on what's certain to be the bottom line with the 1988 Cubs, the new and improved pitching staff. Emphasis on the new.
We've got a lot of new faces. I walked in the clubhouse this morning and I thought I was in the wrong place. I seen Gossage, and Nipper, and Schiraldi, and you look back to my first spring here in '85, and there's not very many of us left.
Sutcliffe's the anchor man, as usual, but Schiraldi, Nipper, and in particular Gossage will have to come through. The Goose's production has dropped off lately, but he looks lean and mean, and he's happy to be a Cub.
This is just probably another chapter in a few chapters, so just another add-on, and like I say, I'm very happy to be here, and it's good to feel wanted again, and to have my old job back in the bullpen.
Jamie Moyer and Greg Maddux are also part of a mix that, even viewed through the rose-colored glasses of spring, wouldn't scare a whole lot of teams. The hope is then that maybe they can sneak up on some people.
Well, I heard all winter that the Cubs don't have pitching. They couldn't win because they don't have pitching. I don't feel that way. I think that we're going to surprise a lot of people with our pitching staff.
Sometimes it's better that way, when people think you don't have anything.
Oh, that's perfect. Let them think that that the Cubs are not even there. That's all right with me. But I think when we're ready to leave camp here, I think we're going to surprise a lot of ball clubs.
At Fitch Park in Mesa, Dan Roan, WGN News.
Their share of new faces in camp, too. One youngster that Jim Fregosi and crew will be taking a close look at is Jack McDowell. McDowell was called up from the minors last season and went 3-0, and he knows that the Sox are expecting a lot out of him.
Right through college, I had the same thing every season. Things were expected of me, so it's sort of in the same boat. It's obviously at a higher level, but I think I can handle that part of it.
At the top of McDowell's list at spring training is simply getting into shape before opening day.
Getting myself ready to throw 9 innings first time out. If I'm in that good a shape by the time the season starts, I'll be happy. It's a totally different game throwing in pens compared to throwing in real live games. As far as your endurance goes, it's a whole different story. So until I get into games, it's tough to say what kind of shape I'm in.
The San Diego Sockers spoiled the coaching debut of Sting coach Gary Henley. The Sockers came back with 4 unanswered goals in the second half to knock off the Sting 4-1. Coming up, the latest financial news from Wall Street and a look at noontime headlines.
Some people think that stopping AIDS is hopeless. If they're right, we're in a lot of trouble. Help us find a medical answer. Write AIDS Research, New York 10116.
Boy, your game is really improved. What did you do? Come on. 2 out of 3.
With today's modern surgical advancements, there's no reason to live with the handicap of hernia or hemorrhoid pain. At Professional Healthcare Specialist, hernia repair or hemorrhoid removal can be safely achieved in just 1 day. Call Professional Healthcare Specialist today at 822-9898. Feeling great is what we're all about.
We tried to make our Heinz home-style gravy just like your homemade.
Oh, really?
We made it with real beef and beef juices just the way you do.
Oh, yeah?
We even seasoned and simmered and stirred it till it was like your own homemade.
Well, it's close.
Oh, yeah? Where are the lumps? Oh, no.
Heinz Homestyle Gravy, so close to homemade.
New Heinz Starter Sauce is the best-tasting national brand. Most everyone agrees.
If you're a senior citizen, your greatest health concern today is your heart. Well, it's time to stop worrying. Now, at the Chicago Heart and Lung Center, a convenient office visit is all it takes for a thorough heart testing, evaluated by a heart specialist. Free transportation's available, and the Heart Center accepts Medicare assignment and similar insurance. So for peace of mind, make an appointment with the Chicago Heart and Lung Center. Call 427-3240 today.
Eric, I'm sorry.
Forget it.
You're here. Sit. I really said...
Eric, your breath's so bad, I can see it.
There it is.
Where's my mouthwash?
I bought something new.
It's blue.
Just taste it.
Introducing Scope Peppermint. Peppermint like you've never tasted before. Cool, crisp. Wow. Like original mint, it's got the power to kill germs like medicine-y mouthwash, and your breath's icy clean.
How's that?
Oh, excuse us.
Now the power of Scope comes in peppermint, too.
Well, the new federal income tax reform is raising more questions this tax season, and as John Holloman reports, the Internal Revenue Service may not have the right answers.
To hear the IRS tell it, this is the year a taxpayer should see real improvement from the Internal Revenue Service. But a series of different tests of IRS taxpayer assisters shows the advice given was often the wrong advice, and some IRS offices are running out of needed forms for taxpayers.
It's a pretty poor situation. These people, you know, they take your money and they don't give you any respect.
I just think they need to try to simplify or, you know, make it more simple.
The new tax law is so confusing, I don't think they understand it totally.
A year ago, the General Accounting Office reported they got the right answer to tax questions 79% of the time. But this year, the figures are much worse.
Our preliminary test call results, which are not projectable, indicate that IRS is answering 61% of the questions accurately.
The IRS disputes those figures, telling a House Ways and Means panel its assisters get the answer right 74% of the time. Still worse than last year.
I'm not swallowing everything you've said as the gospel. I want to believe it. I'm not satisfied with 3 out of 4. That needs to get better. You're absolutely right that it is unacceptable in any office for us not to order forms until we are out.
All this is complicated by tax reform and a continuing struggle with outdated IRS computers. The General Accounting Office says unless there's a disaster, IRS will be able to handle the 1988 tax load. But the big worry in the minds of IRS watchers in Congress is what happens in a few years when the computers again are filled to capacity. Congressman Pickles says he's worried about a repeat of the disastrous 1985 tax season when the computers failed to handle the load and taxpayers waited for months for their refunds. John Holloman, CNN, Washington.
Well, stocks were mixed in early trading, but they're looking up now. CNN's Myron Kandel is here with the latest financial news from Wall Street.
The stocks are higher right now and moving up more even as we speak. That after earlier losses. The Dow Jones Industrial Average right now up about 8.5 points. That puts the Dow at 2047.58. Volume 122 million shares have changed hands on the big board, advancing issues ahead of decliners by a 7-6 margin. The New York Stock Exchange Composite Index moving into the black as well. That index up about 1/4 point. The Standard & Poor's 500 up 1/2 point. On the American Stock Exchange, the Amex Index gaining 0.6 point, while in the over-the-counter market, the NASDAQ Composite Index is up 1.85. The bond market is down a bit, however. The 30-year bellwether Treasury bond losing 0.4 point. That puts the yield at 8.35%. Federal funds trading at 6.25%. Gold taking a big hit today on the New York Commodity Exchange. The April contract for gold down $9.20 an ounce at $435.10. March silver off 11 cents an ounce, quoted on the COMEX at $6.19 an ounce.
That is Myron Kandel with the latest from Wall Street. Turning to news headlines, Illinois Senator Paul Simon says he will stay in the Democratic presidential race, but he will skip Super Tuesday. Simon says he simply cannot afford to compete in the 21 mostly Southern contests, so now he will focus on the March 15th Illinois primary. And he says if he loses here, he will have to reevaluate his candidacy. President Reagan's AIDS Commission says $2 billion is needed to combat the deadly disease among drug users. Meanwhile, President Reagan is preparing for a news conference tonight, his first of the year. He may be asked about the latest government crackdown in South Africa. The U.S. and Britain are condemning the white minority government's new ban of all political activities by anti-apartheid groups. Coming up, Joe Carcione, our greengrocer, and Tom Skilling with a weather update.
Meet a man who says his porn fantasy world ruled his life. And his wife, who says she thought marriage would cure him. But you'll hear how his addiction grew, to the point that he actually preferred his sexual kicks from pornography, rather than in his real relationship with his wife. How can pornography become addictive? How does it wreak havoc in a marriage? Find out from men who prefer porn to their wives, and from the women who've tried to love them. That's on the next Geraldo.
Tomorrow morning at 11.
Carson Perry Scott makes carpet and upholstery cleaning easier than ever before with the amazing new Power Steamer by Bissell. The Power Steamer lets you deep clean your carpets and upholstery rent-free anytime you like. The Power Steamer shoots warm cleaning solution, while powerful suction pulls the liquid and dirt back out. Gets carpeting deep down clean, yet fast pickup action won't soak carpet or upholstery. Don't rent, own your own Bissell Power Steamer and get the deep cleaning results you'd expect from a professional. Take home your Power Steamer today. $179.99 at Carson Perry Scott.
How about some nice new carpeting?
We can't afford carpeting right now.
Hey, right now is the best time. Empire's offering free credit for 6 months.
Can we afford carpeting? We can't afford carpeting.
Free credit for 6 months, including no payment for 90 days.
Maybe we can afford carpeting.
Free credit for 6 months, including no payment for 90 days, and prices from $7.95.
And you said we couldn't afford carpeting.
588-2300 Empire.
At Royal Acres Retirement Village, your leisure years can be all that you hoped for. Activities include billiards, cards, free bingo, movies, crafts, and other activities. The spacious lobby is warm and vibrant. 3 quality meals tastefully prepared every day. Wonderful living experience with low attractive rates. Royal Acres Retirement Village, a retirement center specifically built with your comfort in mind. Call 532-7800.
Fresh rhubarb is sometimes called the pie plant, and it's no wonder if you've tasted a rhubarb pie. Here's Joe Carcione, our greengrocer, with a report and a recipe booklet.
The first hothouse rhubarb of the season is now coming to market, and of course, folks, as usual, the first ones are going to be very expensive, at least fairly expensive. Now, folks, rhubarb is known as pie plant simply because of the fact it does make delicious pies. It also makes a delicious dessert when it's stewed, but there's one thing about rhubarb for most of us, we have to add quite a bit of sugar simply because rhubarb is very, very sour. On the other hand, I've seen people pick up a raw stalk of rhubarb, bite into it, chew on it, and enjoy it. But I'll tell you one thing, folks, I don't think I could handle that. Now, botanically speaking, rhubarb is a vegetable. However, in 1947, it was declared a fruit simply because of the fact the court judged that because it was being used as a fruit, it should be a fruit legally. But I'll tell you something, folks, I think the main reason why they declared it a fruit was to avoid higher import duties. Now, folks, when you go to market, you want to select nice, thick stalks of rhubarb with a nice pink color. If some of these stalks happen to have leaves on them, you certainly want to cut them away because the leaves contain oxalic acid, and that could be poisonous to you. Now, folks, there are many different ways to prepare rhubarb, not only for pies and for desserts, but right here I have a leaflet, folks, with 43 different recipes. If you'd like to have this leaflet, kindly send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, mark the outside of the envelope rhubarb, and I'll be very happy to send it to you. This is Joe Carcione, your greengrocer, with your tip for the day.
Thank you, Joe. Here's Tom Skilling now with a weather update.
Steve, the news is not all bad. Now, it's cold now, and the reason is this jet stream configuration. Winds aloft, steering the weather right in from northern Canada and the polar regions. This will keep up for a couple of days, but mathematical simulations on the supercomputers in Washington of next week's upper air patterns show the jet streams flattening out and becoming zonal. Also, this moist southern jet stream to become more of a factor, so it may grow warmer and wetter. And in fact, the warm air that's been speeding up toward Alaska, forcing cold air down here,
is being encroached upon by this big storm. This is the beginning of the change, a gush of warm air that means we'll get well into the 30s on Saturday and probably up to the 40s by the time we get to Sunday. And that's the weather for now. Steve's back in just a moment.
The Illinois Masonic Medical Center hosts a program on achieving peak performance February 29th. Call 883-7005.
A drive to the neighborhood drugstore is a little longer for some folks than for others. But last year, you and your neighbors made that trip to one pharmacy over 60 million times. Kmart. You know you'll always find a friendly pharmacist, a computerized prescription system for quicker service, a choice of national brands or generic equivalents where allowed. And because it's Kmart, everyday low prices. There are other pharmacies, but there's only one Kmart in your neighborhood.
One of these cars was rated the best-built, most trouble-free subcompact sold in America. Yet it costs around $2,000 less than either Toyota Corolla or Chevy Nova. And it sold more over the past 3 years than Honda Civic, Mazda 323, or any other import in its class. Which one? All of them. Because they're all Nissan Sentras. Come in and test drive the Sentra that fits you at your hometown Nissan dealer now.
I guess every home in America has at least one tool from Sears. You know they're well made, solid, good price too. Same here at the optical department at Sears, solid values. And right now, they're even better. Hundreds of fashion frames at 40 to 60% savings when you buy lenses at the regular price. Fashion frames for everyone in the family, even me. I kind of like these. What do you think? Sears value.
There's more for your life at Sears.
Donald O'Connor and Debbie Reynolds perform on stage at the Holiday Star Theater in Maryville for 3 wonderfully entertaining shows March 12th and 13th. Tickets are still available. And Engelbert Humperdinck performs at the Holiday Star Theater March 25th through the 27th. Tickets at Ticketmaster or charge by phone by calling 734-7266. That's 734-7266. Special overnight and dinner packages also available.
A nationwide program has sparked the imaginations of kindergarten children. It's called Invent America, and it has been a smashing success in Walnut Creek, California. Marty Gonzalez reports.
Meet the red group of the kindergarten class at Walnut Heights Elementary School. Normal, everyday 5-year-olds who also happen to be inventors. They came up with this model of a house cleaning robot.
When it's cleaning, my mom she could play with us. She wouldn't have to do any work, and she could play games and anything.
And you guys wouldn't have to do any work either, right?
No. We wouldn't have to clean up our toys.
Nearby, another group of kindergartners came up with the answer to the problem of how to exercise the classroom mice. 7-year-old Kevin Flanagan solved his mother's kitchen problem with what he calls the Splash Buster.
Let's say you're making something and you're mixing it up. Let's say it splashes all over the person. This helps it so it won't splash all over the person.
These inventions have all taken shape over the past 6 weeks, as every student here was encouraged to invent a problem-solving device, from a way to clean dirty spokes to a foam pad that would make bathtubs more comfortable.
This is looking at something completely different in a new light and saying, how can I do this a little bit differently? How can I think of something that hasn't been thought of before? And not just answer a question, but look at it in a different light. And it's been tremendous for both of my children.
Taking a new and different look at a project is what this is all about, a nationwide program called Invent America. But these kids don't care about that. They simply want to solve a personal problem, like what to do when mom and dad aren't around.
Lay on this pillow, and then you look at the picture that you made. You can make a mom or a dad, and then you just lay down and you push one of these buttons on her, and then they say something like I love you or something, and then you hear their voice, and then you can go to bed.
A team of judges will pick the best inventions, but I think you'll agree that every one of these is a winner.
Looking ahead to tonight, President Reagan is hoping to come out a winner in his first news conference since the October 22nd. Paul Simon returns to Illinois, battered from poor showings yesterday, but determined to begin his Illinois campaign rally. And Rick Rosenthal will have a report on the Dan Ryan project, scheduled to begin in less than a week. Oh, boy. That's our news for now. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice afternoon.